Hey guys, welcome back to Filter Coffee Football. Here to talk about the Premier League transfer window as a whole for January. Some big moves. I mean, not many people expected January to be as eventful as it was, but we have seen a lot of big transfers, and not at the top of the table even. Like a lot of those moves came lower down in the league. So we thought we'll just hit upon transfers that we liked the most. So we're gonna go all the clubs. We already talked about Arsenal, so we're not going to talk about Arsenal again. But we're going to go for the rest of the clubs, and we're just going to pick out the transfers that we like the most or we did not like at all. So yeah, let's kickstart with saying that please like, share, subscribe, and let's now start talking about those transfers. Starting off with Aston Villa. Oof.
Coutinho.
Philippe Coutinho, Luka Dean, and then Callum Chambers right at the end, kind of thrown in there, which is great moves. And of course, Matt Target went to Newcastle on loan. But why don't you start with what do you think about Aston Villa's transfer
Wow.
business?
Philip Coutinho and Luka Dean. Right. Spot on. Good moves for Aston Villa. Ambitious to say that. I mean, pulling off Luka Dean when he was supposedly linked with the Chelsea vacancy, but Chelsea themselves didn't really go for it, and Aston Villa just pounced on the opportunity at Everton. Mm, But I think Aston Villa have won the transfer market with these two transfers. I'm not even going forward. I think they won the transfer market.
uh,
They played their cards right. They played their cards early, and they've just made sure that they back their new manager.
Callum
And if that's
Chamberlain.
not a statement of intent, then I don't know what is.
That's yeah. I mean, Suarez. Sorry, because he was linked as well at one point, which is ridiculous. But Gerrard really kind of using his influence as an ex-player to really bring Coutinho back, and that was some smart business. Barcelona are really trying to get rid of him, and they probably, if Coutinho loves his time over at Villa, and he's apparently on a wage cut right now, and if he's happy to stay on with them with the lower wages, they might be able to get him on a free, which is just ridiculous if that goes around. Because even when he is not, what people thought he might end up being, he's still an amazing player. So hats off to them. He already showed what he brings to the table in that match against Manchester United. Luka Dean, I like the move. I'm not a huge fan of it though, because I still think he's a defensive liability.
Liability.
But adds a lot of firepower going forwards. And then Callum Chambers is actually again some really smart business, barely paying any money in terms of transfers. A fabulous utility player in the squad, can play multiple
Thorough
positions.
professional. Thorough
So,
professional.
and as Arsenal fans, we are huge fans. I mean, maybe not the best quality of player, but the work ethic, the sportsmanship, that alone makes him a player worth having in your squad. So, yeah, hard to say. Aston Villa, not, yeah, they pretty much got every move right so far from the looks of it. Moving on to Brentford, and the biggest move for me,
Story.
the most heartwarming
Heartwarming.
story is the return of Christian Eriksen, which is just who saw this, like who in the world saw this coming? And it adds some much needed, and it's also a sensible move because Brentford haven't really created a whole lot from open play, and that is exactly what Christian Eriksen does. He creates chances from open play for you. He's just amazing on the ball, great vision. Now we have to see how much of that is still intact. He hasn't played for a while. We don't know what his fitness level is like. For anybody who's hoping to see him at Brentford's next match, maybe hold your horses there because he might need a bit to kind of click into step. But again,
Late February, I think. I
yeah,
think he'll get in.
hopefully. But yeah, a great move for them. I mean, that's just a very heartwarming story. It's I'm just looking forward to watching him play again. Um, that was the only real major. I mean, of course, all these other clubs have had other moves as well, but we're only going to talk about the real headlines for us. Which brings us to Brighton, who really, I'm list going on over here, who really didn't make any big moves in. I think they signed a striker, Dennis Undav, but he's been loaned back again, and he's basically one for the future from the looks of it. Um, but they did let go of Dan Burn to Newcastle United.
Right.
What do you think about their just their squad at the end of the window generally? Like you have,
I think Brighton are doing pretty well for what they want to do. Um, Smart enough with knowing that they have an asset that they can cash in on, and Newcastle are spending money on anything that moves. So makes sense. Like just offer Newcastle your entire roster and ask them to pick whatever and put an arbitrary number. In all likelihood, they'll pay. They just want to save themselves from relegation. So it's smart by Brighton to like let
yeah,
Dan Burn go.
definitely. And then moving on to another team that's probably benefited from Newcastle doing their business is Burnley. Let go of Chris Wood, huge blow we thought initially. Replaced him with Wout Weghorst from Wolfsburg. I mean, how savvy is that? And I think they paid less than half uh, of the money that they got from
They
the
got
Chris Wood sale, which is remarkable. Everybody talks about this guy because 6'6", huge guy. Was pretty important. I mean, he made a place for himself in the Dutch team at the Euros as well. Was very good. I'd like to say in that team as well, despite the team being centered around Depay. And he's essentially a Chris Wood 2.0. Big guy, loves to head the ball, loves to take control. It's like a dream signing if Sean Dyche had to literally draw the player he wanted as a replacement for Chris Wood, it would be him.
exactly.
So again, the only question mark will be it's a different league, it's a different style. He has not played here before, so
There is a
how he might
Bundesliga
adjust.
tax. There is a Bundesliga tax that has impacted everyone who's come from that league to the Premier League. But that's for another. That's another thread altogether. I was running through Reddit and Twitter, and I just came up with. I just saw that Bundesliga tax, and there have been huge arguments there. So we'll have that
We will link
separately.
that in. We'll
Yeah.
link that in the description on the video. So please go ahead and take a look at that thread and let us know what you think about that as well. But yeah, I think that's a fabulous move. I think Burnley have done just enough to maybe keep them safe because they do have matches in hand and they just need maybe one win of those matches to really kind of pull them back out of that relegation scrap zone. Going down to Chelsea. I mean, we're just gonna kind of move past this because no real big business. They didn't really have any big incomings. They didn't really have big outgoings. So I think they're resting on their laurels right now. They did spend big in summer, which doesn't seem to have paid off at this point in time. So Champions League is still on. So who knows?
Maybe he's interested somewhere else.
But yeah, Crystal Palace. Biggest move for them is they made the deal permanent for Jean-Philippe Mateta, which is I mean, he's been good for them. Scored a few crucial goals recently for them as well. So all in all, good move. I mean, finalizing the move for a player that you like. It's always good when you can get a player in on loan, test them out, and
Right.
you like them. That's like the ideal way to do business, right? So again, Crystal Palace doing the right kind of business in the transfer market. So really impressive.
And let's
Yeah.
also agree that they've backed their manager, new manager.
Yes, definitely. Showing a lot of faith in Patrick Vieira, and he is returning that faith as well. Maybe they should have probably had like one or two wins more, and they would have probably been in a more correct space than we
Correct.
think of them in the league. But all in all, fabulous season. I mean, Crystal Palace have never felt this safe at this stage in the season. I feel in a long time.
True that.
And funnily enough, we jump onto a team that is desperately in need of feeling safe and trying their hardest to kind of make that happen. Everton. Most
Or
teams
not.
make
Or
most
not.
most team make deadline day player transfers. This team made a deadline day manager signing. Frank Lampard finalized, and it seems like they signed his contract and then just straight got him into the transfer room to make the deals happen. because they got a lot of business in. They got Anwar El Ghazi on loan from Aston Villa. They got Van de Beek, which is a big move from Everton,
Two good moves. I think those two
and
are good moves.
and
Really good moves.
and Delhi Ali on a transfer. It still took me a while to read this right, but apparently Delhi Ali has moved on a permanent deal to Everton, which
There's
was
some insane amount of money laundering going on.
I
I
have no
have
idea
no
because
reason. I have no logical reason why he transferred.
so apparently the deal is fairly reasonable. It's like a 12 or 15 million initial fee with bonuses and stuff rising to maybe about 35 to 45 million. So I mean, if he does perform
40
the
mil,
way
40. Yeah.
40 million exactly. So if he does perform uh, admirably, it can rise as high as 40 mil, which seems it kind of seems like very un-Levy like conduct at this point. So I feel that this is where Conte probably strong-armed him into a decision, just saying that Ali is just never playing as long as I'm here as a manager. So because he's
So,
been poor for the last couple of seasons, but they have been very, very strict in their belief that they don't want to let him go. But it's actually happened now, and I'm really surprised to see how he moves on. I mean, all the players that they've gotten in Everton are kind of similar to their own situation. I mean, everyone, even the manager that they got in, are very similar to their
hmm.
own. It's like they're all in the same boat. Everton, a club that really needs to prove itself after the big takeover. Lampard, a manager who needs to really prove himself after the Chelsea debacle. Van der Beek having lost faith in two men like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Rangnick. Neither of them seem to feel that he's good enough to start for United. And Dele Alli, who's fallen out of favor with the last three managers that
But Dele
he's
Alli's
been
been
under.
problematic. Let's not throw that under the rug because he's been problematic. His attitude has been problematic. I guess there is more managers. You have to trust if multiple managers are having an issue with the same player, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe just look at the common factor just for
Yep.
once.
I, it, I can't. It's hard to argue. I mean, same thing goes for Van de Beek, right? Because when
Yep.
Rangnick first came in, everybody's like, okay, Donny is finally going to get his chance, but that never seemed to happen. So you have to think there's something in there going on with the player. But I don't know. I still have my doubts about Lampard as a manager. I know a lot of people,
Same
especially
here.
Chelsea fans, have high regards for him, and he's by all means he's a legend as a player. But I still have my doubts about his credentials as manager. So I think this was a bad move on Everton's part, and we might be seeing the results of it later on in the season. But yeah, moving on, or rather skipping past yet another move, is Leeds United. Sent out a bunch of young youth on loan, got in a young player. I think his name is, let me read that out. Mateo Joseph Fernandez. I think he's an 18-year-old kid or a 20-year-old kid. But again, one for the future. Really one team that really needed some moves. But I get it. They're strapped for cash. And Bielsa is very, very specific in the people he chooses to come in through
This
those
is
doors.
this is this is I mean it's a blessing and it's also a bane where managers prefer to work with highly contained squads or a very small squad to play with. For example, even a David Moyes,
Mhm.
even Bielsa,
Even Klopp for the longest time.
but Klopp still has. I mean, he's complained about not investing, the ownership not investing. He's never said he's only comfortable working with a smaller group,
Hmm.
right? But these are managers who are only set on working with a core team, and that's the team that plays almost every other game. So I think Leeds needs to understand that they might have to have some more backup, but if they're lucky enough to just survive the season, because there are other teams
Yep.
that are going down.
Yep. Moving on to another team that is not having the best season right now, Leicester City. Most people thought that they really needed to try and make some big moves. For all intents and purposes, it seems like they're going to lose Tielemans on a free. Um,
Quite likely.
Vardy has finally hit a point where he is not as good as he's been all these years. So they have struggled a little bit in the striker department, despite Patson Daka really trying to step up recently. Their defense has been atrocious. I mean, Soyuncu has just had a debacle of a season in the absence of Johnny Evans, and of course Wesley Fofana is still out injured. I believe he might
He's
be able to
out for
make
the
it to
season.
the. Oh, I thought he might be able to make it to the end of the season.
Maybe end of the season.
Yeah.
That's more or less a lost cause.
Yeah, the upside for them as a squad is that Madison seems to have been brought back into the fold, which is good for him and good for the team. But I think they, at this point, having made no moves, like literally no moves, not even like small fry moves. Like they have got no player in. A lot of small players, a lot of fringe players have been loaned out. It seems like they're just writing the season off. They're like, we are not going to do anything. We're going to see where this ends, and then we're going to reset and restart come the new season. Which I guess.
think they're also going to lose out on NDD, which we forgot.
Well, they'll get a good fee for him. I think he still has a couple of years on his contract.
A year, I guess. I think he's going to his last year on his contract.
So they'll still probably squeeze like 40-50 mil off. I mean, he's Ndidi is definitely on course for a bigger club. So it's only a matter of time that somebody comes in. So I think Leicester already know that. Same thing with Tielemans, like the way he's been for Leicester, they were kind of resigned to the fact that they were going to lose him, but I guess holding on to him for at least the end of the season to give them maybe some outside hope of Europa League kind of makes sense. Moving on to Liverpool. Only one real marquee signing, but rumored to be a very season-defining signing, potentially even, in their acquiring Luis Diaz from Porto. I don't know a lot about this player, but I have heard good things about him. I have heard that he's been really lighting it up in Portugal over the last couple of seasons. Especially this season has been really his standout season. He's double digits in goals and contributions. I think it's like 14 or 15 goals in like 17 appearances in the league for Porto, which is incredible numbers. But again, you're talking about the Portuguese league, so translating into the Premier League, probably a harder feat, but we do trust Liverpool scouting. And from what I hear, they were looking at this player.
I'm twisted.
Yeah, they were looking at him for a while, and this was supposed to be a summer move, but Pochettino, sorry, not Pochettino, Tottenham Hotspur jumped in, and Liverpool, which is saying something. When Liverpool are like, no, we cannot let this player go somewhere else, it says something about the quality of the player. So excited to see whether he beds into the team from the get-go, or whether he takes a minute to really, click into gear. They're title rivals right now, the ones who are running away with the league, Manchester City. Do you know anything about the kid that they brought in?
Alvarez has been electric. He was even Fiorentina were linked with Julian Alvarez. They were supposed to sign Julian Alvarez as a replacement to Dusan Vlahovic, but I think they were dilly-dallying his purchase because they wanted to see where Dusan was going, and Man City just like stepped in at the right moments. City then don't really need an excuse to buy a player, but they had one,
especially for the price that they paid for him, right?
They had one right now. Like they lost out. They sold off Ferran Torres, made a profit on him too, and I mean that's like one slot remaining for a foreign player. City are like, okay, we buy a foreign player. That's all.
I mean, this is City's business is almost like FIFA, right? Because they buy a young player, grow him by like 5 points by playing him in the league season, and sell him for a profit next season, and they just go ahead and buy another youth player for 74 OVR, and then bump him back up to 83 or 84 so that they can sell him if they want to, or they can just put a fixture in their squad if they want him to. So
and Alvarez has been loaned back to River Plate. So,
he has, yes, for the rest of the season. So clearly he's one for the future for City, but I mean, they don't even really need one for the future. Right? And with the amount of money, I think it's like a 14 million pound transfer. So still lots of money left over from the Torres move to go towards possibly swing
Right.
for Haaland going into the summer. Um, and of course, this was the other part of the move, and we are going over to Manchester United because Manchester United were also interested in the kid, and City just pounced on the move, got ahead of them. I don't know whether it was Alvarez picking City over United. That would sting. But
Could quite possibly be true. Like,
uh,
why would you not want to play for Pep
yeah,
Guardiola?
exactly, in the current scenario, yeah, they are definitely the better team. And United uh, get a central defensive midfielder. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say this. It's one player. You have to find. Juventus, again, we're going back to this. Juventus got Dennis Zakaria for 5.
5 million.
United, you have to get one central. That is literally your only real problem. It completes your squad to such a degree. I can't even begin.
But
Um,
we had to agree that top clubs have always found it difficult to like get value signings in January, and I think it's the reputation that these clubs carry that, oh, because they are short on something, let's like
It's
bump up
also,
the
yeah, or
price
with
by
the
10x.
United
Yeah,
tax, the Premier League tax.
true.
Yep. Now they did manage to loan out a lot of players, no sales, but a lot of
Two big
room in
loans.
the wage. Yeah, huge loans. I mean, Anthony Martial finally deciding that United probably wasn't going to get him where he wanted to be, going over to Sevilla. I think it's a fabulous move for him, a different change
Smart
in
move for
atmosphere.
career wise.
And Sevilla, I mean, outside contenders for La Liga this season. So who knows? He might actually win some silverware. Long shot, but he might, which is incredible to even think about. And Donny van de Beek, after lots of discussions,
Like a new
um,
signing.
yeah, I mean, Everton basically get him. It's like driving. It's like buying a Ferrari, driving 1,000 miles, and then selling it right away. It's like a brand new player getting into Everton. So, which again baffles me because Newcastle were interested in Lingard. So were West Ham to get
United
him
didn't
back
want.
in, and so
Yeah.
and Rangnick apparently said, Lingard, you're free to go. This is a player who's running down his contract. He doesn't want to stay at United. He does not want to renew his contract, and there are teams willing to pay 10 to 15 million for said player. I There has to be a reason why the United board doesn't want him to leave. I have no idea what's going on there. I don't know.
Maybe it's with the ongoing debacle. Maybe it's because of the ongoing debacle.
Again, I mean, why would you not sell a player and hold on to a player like Van de Beek, who also has potential down the line? Lingard is an
But
aging
he's not
player.
going to play the same role, right?
I suppose. I guess that is an argument, but it's not like they don't have depth in the position. Elanga has been getting a lot of game time, and he's a nice young prospect. They already are struggling to get all their strikers playing, all their attacking players playing anyway. So,
A certain
uh,
someone wants to play every minute, every
of
game.
course,
So, yeah,
there is that as well. But this is just a messy transfer. Again, this is this move for United was kind of like Arsenal light, where they did sort of manage to get rid of some dead weight, or at least move them to a place where they might, in the long run, fetch some sort of a transfer fee. So,
true.
um, not a bad window, or rather, it's just like a meh window for United. Uh, Moving on to the big guns, man. So you said Aston Villa won the transfer window.
I think yes.
These are worthy contenders.
They are contenders. I agree, but at the point that they are right now, it reminds me of Fulham when Fulham signed like almost an entirely new squad and then went straight down.
See,
They went straight down.
that's fair, but you have to look at the caliber of players. Okay, Kieran Trippier, Chris Wood, Bruno Guimaraes, Matt Target on a loan, and Dan Burn. These are, like you said, these are like starting 11 players that Newcastle have bought in the January transfer market. What do
That's
you see?
five.
The only
So
question I
that's
have for you is, do you see them surviving this season? Do you see them staying in the Premier League?
it depends on them clicking. I I don't know. I mean, who do Newcastle like trump or jump over, like, because I think there are two definite exits. One is Norwich, the other being Burnley.
Oh, so we're still staying on
I
Norwich despite recent. I'm starting to turn on Norwich. I think they might just. I hope they can, but
Yeah,
still quite hard.
the goal difference is what will kill
Yeah,
them eventually. I mean, even though they are getting points, I think the goal difference is going to kill
yeah,
them, which
they'll
is
have to
why
go
I
it on.
don't
Yeah, they'll
really
have to go it
have.
on absolute performances. They cannot do it
Yeah,
on the numbers at
true.
all. So yeah, so Norwich is on. What's the other team that you think Newcastle cannot
But
flog?
I mean, Norwich and Burnley are definitely going down. Uh, Who's going to be the third team is the question. And Newcastle right now are filling the spot like inch perfect. Although
I
they've like signed everyone, I would be surprised to see all like. I mean, hey, look at this. Are there any players in this transfer window that are going to complain about why are we playing in League Two or the Championship? Only one, maybe Bruno Guimaraes. Apart from that, every other player has come from a lower team, or
mean, I'd be
uh,
surprised if
Trippier is
Trippier is
Trippier
willing
is
to play in the
almost,
championship at this point.
but Trippier is almost at the end of his nearing the end of his
That's
career.
fair. But I
Let's
mean,
not forget that.
but
So
there is also things to consider. Like they cannot pay them the same wages in the championship that they're paying them in the Premier League. So there has to be those clauses inserted in there. Newcastle would
right,
be daft not to insert those kind of clauses in there, irrespective of the kind of money that they have, you know, coming in from the outside.
I mean, it
Uh,
doesn't mean
with
that money
Yeah,
doesn't always include
exactly,
smartness. So you
exactly.
never know.
Like the amount of ass cheekery that PSG and Man City have pulled in the past, FFP has grown smarter. So the same tactics won't fly this time around. So Newcastle really need to be smart about how they allocate their money. Even if they have an unlimited supply of it, they still need to do it within certain criteria. So I really don't know how this works for them. I want. This is very evil of me, but I'd like to see them get relegated just to see the kind of mess the club goes into. Um,
It could happen, could very well
so
happen.
on paper, this is definitely an amazing transfer window. I just feel it's too disorganized. There are like a couple of long-term options and a couple of short-term options. It just looks too messy, and like you said, five new first team players in the middle of the season is maybe too much for the team to adjust and
Correct.
adapt and improve on. So uh
And it's not just from one league, it's from multiple leagues too.
exactly,
So
exactly. But yeah, moving on to your, again, we can kind of gloss over them because Norwich didn't really make any moves. They just loaned out
no
again a lot of their
incomings.
youth, a
Yeah.
lot of their fringe players loaned out. I think they're happy with the unit that they have. The biggest surprise on this one was Todd Cantwell
Can, yep.
on loan to Bournemouth, which that just has to be a falling apart with the manager there,
Definitely it's a falling apart.
because
I don't
this is a player that
definitely
people are looking to, like, oh, this guy might keep us in the league. A year older, more experience in there. He was supposed to be that. That somewhat that like that talisman, and he's off on loan. So I don't know what to make of that. But Norwich probably need to make one or two signings to uh, make good on their current form. But yeah, let's go on to another really slow, low-key team, Southampton. Only gotten V Caballero to cover for their, vows. My V's and W's are always messed up. Um, in
goalkeeper
defense,
troubles.
yeah. So that's really the only big move.
Southampton might just coast through. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they have
think
a decent enough squad to survive. I don't see them being
yeah,
in a lot of
definitely.
relegation trouble.
I mean,
Uh,
some of these clubs can take a respite from the fact that there are other clubs that are desperately in shambles.
mhm.
So these clubs can probably not do anything and still just survive.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have
Southampton is
James,
one of
as
those.
long as you have James Ward-Prowse hitting those spot kicks, you're always gonna survive, right? Oh man, what a player! That's one player that it's going to be impossible for them to ever replace. Alrighty, moving on to the tail end, our rivals, Tottenham Hotspur. Now, for me, I think this was the best transfer. This team had the best transfer window, and I'll give you my reasons. Kulusevski adds so much depth for the attack, and Bentancur adds again so much depth and a little bit more, um, I'd say, experience and just know-how in the game. Because Conte has been relying on Højbjerg and a combination of Oliver Skip and Winks in that midfield to kind of make that midfield work. I think he might actually use Bentancur and Højbjerg together because Højbjerg
He
is
will have to.
Højbjerg is world class. There is no doubt about that. And then Bentancur is pretty much just as good of a player. So it automatically elevates that midfield to a whole other level. And with Kulusevski, it adds that flair in the attack, which right now, realistically, only comes from Hyun-Min Song, who is currently injured as well. So Mora is a hard worker, and Kane is not the best season, starting to hit some sort of form. But Kulusevski just adds this whole other dimension to that attack. And not to mention, they got rid of some dead weight for them as well. And Ndombele is out on loan to Lyon. They're hoping he's going to have a good season there, so that it becomes a permanent move. Lo Celso loaned out to Villarreal, which I feel sad for because I think Lo Celso was one of those players that could have really made a difference for Spurs. And
Even
then,
Brian Hill, I never understood that transfer. Okay.
and they just loaned him right back. So I
They
I
loaned
don't.
him after 6 months. I think they could have loaned him throughout the season, the
They
entire
at this
season.
point might as well, right? But that's the thing where they brought him in for a reason, and once Conte came in, that reason no longer existed, so he's just gone back. I don't know whether they're going to look for a deal back. Maybe they might just do a reverse exchange and just what, Lamela, just come on back Lamela, sorry, come on back. We'll just take you back.
I don't think
Uh,
Lamela is coming back, I guess.
but here's my saying: they're already good. Spurs are already within touching distance of the top four. The only loss being against Chelsea, which is again a good team, decent team to lose against. So Spurs are already in a good position under Conte, and with these two new signings, and in the absence of United and Arsenal having made any significant moves, I think Spurs have won the market because I think this gives them an edge in qualifying for the top four, which is why they, for me, have actually probably won this window. But I'd like to see you refute my claim.
I don't think Bentancur is going to be an impact. Definitely not. He's been bit part at Juventus, not been playing many games, and
I think,
coming
no,
from
he's actually, I
he
think he
he's not
started
played. He's not played
he
much.
started the
He's not
third
played
most.
much.
He started the third most in outfield. They've seen a lot of rotation in that squad, but Betancourt has still started the third most players in that Juventus squad. So again,
But
it's not a lot of games.
that
I
that
think it's
team
like
hasn't
14
done
or 15
anything.
games.
Where are Juventus? Juventus are seventh or eighth
That is a fair
again.
argument. That is a very
Yeah.
fair argument.
And secondly, he's coming from a way too slower league to the Premier League.
Again,
It's
fair,
not
fair
easy to
argument.
like take that speed, and there is going to be some moments where you'll see Bentancur and Højbjerg just lose it because both of them aren't really pace merchants, or I think they will be dribbled past.
Mhm.
I think there is the potential of both of them being dribbled past, and we are going to witness some of that definitely. Because
Well,
Conte, he's playing his 3-5-2, and he's trying to push his defenders up. He's placing faith on his three-man centre back lineup, and then these two. And if these two are dribbled past, then you have virtually no one to like really take the ball away. That's what I'm
yeah,
looking at.
that's fair. That's fair. I think you may have met me at a stalemate there. Well, we'll only know as the season goes on, right? So we'll come back to
Right,
this later on, and then
right.
one of us will be laughing at the other. But yeah, and then of course we already talked about Dele Alli leaving, which is still I'm still trying to get over that whole bit.
Definite some amount of money laundering is involved there. I mean, how do you put such weird clauses and still teams buy such players? There, there is some underhand dealing out here. Maybe it might come out 10 years later that there was this something, but if that ever comes out, I need credit for it.
Okay, moving on to Watford. Unfortunately, I know Hassan Kamara is a great player. That's one decent move that they've made in this window. But I really don't know about the other players that they have. They got Maduka Okoye from Sparta Rotterdam. I think that's going to be more of a fringe move. But Samir from Udinese, decent team in this area. Edoka Yembe, that's again more of like a fringe player.
Let's not forget their biggest signing.
Who did they sign again? Hodgson. Yes, Hodgson. Yes. I was trying to remember. In my head, these Allardyce is like the default setting.
He's probably retired, playing with his grandchildren, and then the phone rings. Hey, oh, we have something for you. Like, okay. Hey, here you go, Tommy.
3 months paid. 3 months guaranteed pay with a year of severance.
Definitely. I don't know. I really don't know what they're doing. At this rate, they're going to exhaust the managerial population very soon.
I had faith in that if they would have stuck with Ranieri, that Watford did have a chance. But changing management again probably relegates them to the fate of relegation. So yeah, moving on to West Ham again. Not a whole lot to talk about. Just some small fringe players loaned out. They really tried. The biggest news for them was that they were really trying to get Jesse Lingard in through the door, but the United hierarchy just wouldn't have it. The only thing that surprises me was that they didn't try to go for a striker,
centre back, or even a defender,
for a centre back. Because I know Manchester United loaned Axel Tuanzebe out to Napoli. Like, of course, I also understand that it would technically be loaning out to your rivals, so they didn't want to do that. But that would have been something that they probably should have tried to do. And then dealing it out with Wolves again. Not a whole lot of big moves in there, just a lot of small, a lot of loans for the fringe players, and then again some moves for
a big loan
prospects, and of
a
course
big loan out.
Huge. The funniest thing about that move is Traore took a pay cut to go to a bigger team, apparently, which tells you everything you need to know about Barcelona right now. I guess he's hoping that once he comes in, he proves himself this season, and then once Barcelona are able to shed some of the wage bill with some exits, he might get his comeuppance at that point.
Or maybe his allowance for oil.
Apparently Bruno Lage wanted to hold on to him, though. He thought that Traore might be a good utility player going down the line for the rest of the season. I think the team is doing fabulous. The only thing that they might actually be upset at not getting a decent transfer fee for Traore, because at the start of the season, people are quoting 50 mil for this player. Thanks to the season he's had, nobody's really willing to pay anything for him right now. So that's the only part that I really feel bad for Wolves, is you had essentially a ready-made, fake product that you could sell for a decent profit.
Just ship him out and laugh your way to the
Exactly. Now I think they did finalize the move for
Wang Hee-chan? No.
Yes, they finalized the move for Hwang Hee-chan. So he's on a permanent transfer now. I don't know when they did. I know it's not on that list, but this is what I heard. So if I was wrong, please let me know in the comments below, and we'll make the correction when I'm editing anyway. But I think that's a good move. I think he's been good. He started off really well, and then he's kind of tapered off now. But I think that's still a really good move. I love the player. He's a fabulous on the ball, strength, speed, just generally really good,
Right.
really effective. So I think that's a good move. And Wolves are moving up the ladder from the looks of it. Yeah. Any last words? Because I already know who you
Last
think won.
words. Yeah, I think Aston Villa have justified in the way that they've covered what they've wanted. They've made a statement signing, if that can be said. And I think they were fairly stable after Gerrard has come in, or they're reaching stability after Gerrard's come in, and these signings just add to that.
Yep.
While for other clubs, for this transfer window to be a success, they will have to show more results because other clubs they've just got players in, but if you don't know whether that's going to work out the way it has to work out, or even if it's half decent, then maybe good for some. For example, a Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's where I believe on Aston Villa. I know that it's easy to take the popular route, but I think that's where I am right now. I am no frills right now.
Fabulous point. So Karthik thinks it was Villa. I feel it was Tottenham. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. And yeah, we did a separate breakdown for Arsenal because of course both of us are Gooners in at the heart. If you can't
If that was not very evident.
exactly. But yeah, as always, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for keeping in touch. Thank you so much for supporting us. And
Being there.
yeah, we look forward to hearing more from you guys. And have a great day. And see you next time.
See you again. Bye bye.